Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first edition of the Grand Boulevard Coalition. It's been a long time since we've been with you. I'm your host, Vamani Obadelli, and tonight my guest, I have a distinguished guest, a brother that many of you know if you've been around the Chicago public school system for a long time and dealing with community issues as it relates to the Chicago public schools. Our good brother Lafayette, Mr. Lafayette Ford, Dr. Ford. You've earned that title, Dr. Ford, as long as you've been around Lafayette.
Yeah.
So Lafayette, we're going to get right into the question. This is a live program. Tonight, this program is sponsored to you by the Grand Boulevard Coalition. The number to call in is 312-738-1060, 312-738-1060. And like I said again, our guest tonight is Mr. Lafayette Ford. How you doing, Lafayette?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
So why don't you first start off by telling the audience a little bit about yourself and some of the work that you've been doing, and then we'll bring it around to the Grand Boulevard Coalition.
Well, I work for the Chicago Public Schools right now. I'm in a department called Leadership and Learning with Family and Community Engagement. And my specialty is working with the community and engaging and making sure that the public school stays connected to the community and working on various things.
Okay, that's great. And your work with, let's go into the work with the Grand Boulevard Coalition. How long have you been involved with the Grand Boulevard Coalition?
I've been involved with the Grand Boulevard Coalition now for about 3 years.
Okay, That's great. And so what do you think about some of the work that, that basically we've been doing at the Grand Boulevard Coalition as it relates to?
Well, it's exciting in that, one, we're working with youth and for youth and in trying to help them understand and prevent use and reduction of substance abuse, especially within the Grand Boulevard community. So when we take the message out, we're looking at working, first of all, in education with students and with young people, helping them understand the dangers and hopefully teaching them abstinence from doing it. Then second of all, we want to work with community organizations, the various agencies out here that will help in coalescing with youth and working across the board with various things, and then also with our businesses and helping them understand the type of things they should be doing to stay within the law and not exposing our youth to these various substances.
Okay, and and I should tell the viewer audience, the city of Chicago, and I'm not certain if this is a statewide, but I know it took effect July 1st, that you have to be 21 years old now to buy cigarettes, tobacco. So they've raised the age of buying tobacco. So that is a new. Young people cannot buy tobacco under the age of 21. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention some of our partners, members of the Grand Boulevard Coalition are the Institute for Positive Living, the Recovery 2000, the Greater Harvest Missionary Baptist Church, the Green Light Movement, and the Bronzeville Community Clubhouse. And now I'm going to go over here to give you some more information on the Grand Boulevard Coalition. The Grand Boulevard Coalition address is 3847 South Giles. That's our office address, Chicago, Illinois. The phone number you can reach us at 312-420-5582, 312-420-5582. Again, you can reach us by mail, the Grand Boulevard Coalition, 3847 South Giles, Chicago, Illinois, 60653. And that's actually at the Bronzeville Community Clubhouse, which is also one of our community partners. So, Mr. Lafayette Ford, why don't you tell me a little bit about some of the other work that you've been doing across the city with some of the other community groups, DFC's prevention organizations?
Well, exciting because I do work in 3 of them, and all of them are doing things that are slightly different, but at the same time, all around trying to involve youth, first of all and foremost, in being partners in this.
Okay.
So recently on the near west side, we took a number of youth up to Northern Illinois University, to talk about college and doing college internships and how to get into college and to expose them to college life. You can't just go and tell people about what they should not be doing.
Right.
You really have to involve them with the type of things that they should be doing and give them alternatives. Further on the west side, again, we have youth. We've been doing coalescing on discussion on HIV. We've been doing things where they have their own parent cafe with parents coming in and talking about issues, because parents need support and understanding about these issues and what to do. And in addition to that, they have their own TV program and Monday afternoon programs they do once a month.
Okay, that's great. I guess a question, and I think maybe some other of the viewers may be out there. And again, this is a live show. The number is 312-738-1060. 312-738-1060. And we are talking about prevention and drug-free communities, and specifically in the Grand Boulevard community. And let's talk about parenting. And so how do you see parental engagement or parental activity as it relates to the schools? Let's stay in Grand Boulevard. What do you, on the scale of 1 to 10, and then how do you think we can make it better? That's a two-part question.
Well, let's start with the fact that there's no schooling on being a parent. All right? There's no subject matter that we're forced to take in school, especially before we have children. All right? And now we got into a situation where a number of our parents are children themselves. If not in actual age, in terms of how they've been raised and the type of exposure that they have with things. So our concern is to make sure that parents understand these things. They need to understand abstinence with especially alcohol and substance abuse, and they need to understand what this stuff is now. It's not just simply tobacco products or cigarettes or simple drugs like marijuana. There's all these other type of things that are out here. There's drugs that look like candy. There are drugs that mix with various things. We've got we've got pop in the stores that we think is soda pop, and guess what? It's actually alcohol.
Yeah.
All right. So parents are not exposed, and they don't have enough knowledge about these things to or know what to be looking for with their children. So that's a very important part of what we need to be doing.
Yeah, and I think what are some ways you think that we can try to get more parents to get involved in even learning what to look for in signs, if you will?
Well, I think that an important thing with any group is a measure of self-help. And that means we need to get parents who are finding out about these things themselves to talk to other parents, all right? Because you can relate better to somebody who you can say, well, you know what? Oh, I didn't know that, all right? Well, if I didn't know it till yesterday and I'm coming to talk to you, I don't have to be prompt and I don't have to act as though I know everything. You say, oh, you just found out yesterday? Okay, I'm listening to you because I know that you're coming from the same place I am.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing. And again, you're watching, callers, you're watching Grand Boulevard Coalition. I'm your host, Bomani Obedelli, and then our guest today is Mr. Lafayette Ford, who happens to be the vice president, I should say, of the Grand Boulevard Coalition. And I believe we may have a caller out there. Caller, what's your comment?
Good evening, gentlemen. I try to make my remarks brief.
Sure.
One of the things we should be doing in our community, really in all community, we should try to discourage certain age group becoming parents early as like 16, whatever. And we need to try to, if we could get them not to be parents until they're about 25 or 26, at that particular time, then they may be able to pass on some knowledge. They may be able to pass on a little bit of, well, maybe the children have a better quality of life. And we don't hear people saying it's no longer be a productive, useful member of society. And we look in our society right now, we constantly reward bad behavior. We don't reward good behavior at all. And it seems like it's much more hip now in terms of the bad behavior. We even got TV shows in terms of bad behavior, like Teenage Moms.
I follow you, and thank you for your call, caller. I appreciate it, and you made some valid points. Now, one thing I don't think that we can do is, the proper age of consent is 18. However, they've raised the age of being able to buy tobacco products to 21, which is, listen, and it's been kind of effective in a sense, because when you're able to stop stores from selling cigarettes to minors. And because then I just believe that it first comes to cigarettes, Then comes the marijuana. Then comes the drinking, and then it goes on. So these things are like a gateway to real stronger drugs. But as you talked about, and as I know in the community, Lafayette, and to the view audience, it is a fact. To the caller's point, we got young people, 13, 14-year-olds who are alcoholics.
Yes.
I don't know how I've experienced now. So when I worked in a different community out in Roseland, I know that was a problem in one of the grammar schools. Kids bringing alcohol in their pop bottles or juice bottles. I mean, that was a problem in the school. And even in the community center where we did like these peace circles and restorative justice things, it came out that young people were drinking. And so in part of having discussions with them, they said they got it from their parents.
Right.
So, of course, we call it parental meeting, right? And so you would be amazed, and to the caller's point, you would be amazed at the parents who said, yeah, I let my child drink. I want him to drink at home with me because I don't want them drinking out in public. They're going to do it anyway, but I'd rather them drink at home so that when they get drunk, they'll be in the house. I just thought that was horrible. I really did. I don't see the logic in that, because I said, well, Mom, the problem you have is that you've got a child now that's undeveloped, who's 13, 14, addicted to alcohol. They're not just going to wait till they get home. So now they're going to go to the corner liquor store and they're going to have some adults trying to cop for them. And then comes the need for having coalitions like this and others, because we do what they call compliance checks. We try to put signs in the business windows urging them not to allow folks to buy liquor for underage young people.
Right.
But what did you think about what the caller had to say, Lafayette?
Well, when we look at what happens with parents, it doesn't make any difference what age they are when they go to have children, as far as if they don't have the knowledge base. Even at 25, if you don't understand what alcohol does to you or what tobacco does to you, then you can't pass on that information, all right? Yeah. So we're looking at making sure that everyone gets educated across the board, because sometimes the children are the ones who make the better decisions than the parents. Like you said, they're finding this stuff at home.
Yeah, then you got some children that run their house. I think we got another caller. Caller, make your point.
I want to make this other point real quick.
Sure, go ahead.
When I was small, about 14 or something like that, guess what? I was able to drink beer at home. It wasn't no problem, all right? And maybe the problem is children don't understand in terms of the consequences. When you go out there, you get drunk, and certain type of behavior could lead certain things.
Well, let me indulge you for a moment.
Parents need to teach their children how to drink responsibly. And like when my daughter was real small, like on Christmas and Thanksgiving, I would have a little wine with her dinner. In some other cultures, that's not, that's probably their culture, like an Italian culture. And you may not like it, whatever, all right? And I've heard over there, maybe we need to teach the children much more in terms of the consequences when you do silly things.
Yeah, so wait. So if I'm hearing you correctly, when you were growing up, your mom allowed you to have beer, your parents, I would say, because I don't want to be...
I want to be much more specific. I was a freshman in high school, and the liquor store owner knew I was a freshman in high school. I would go buy me a six-pack and bring it back home, and it was no problem. Because I'm serious, because I have a daughter, and guess what? She's not an alcoholic or anything like that, and she knows the consequences. Like, she knows her limit, and like in some cultures, they teach children about drinking. They teach them how to drink, not to be stupid, not to be silly. That you may not be able to do that for all children, but there's children out there, you can teach them how to be responsible.
Yeah, caller, I appreciate your call again, and thank you so much for making your point.
Some people could be out.
Yeah, thank you so much, caller, for your call. Yeah, I don't know that I necessarily, but I don't necessarily agree with your method, but we got another call, so I'll go to the next call and then I'll come back to you. Caller, you on the air.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening. We continue to talk about all these things that's happening, but the major thing that we're forgetting about, these are health issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Alcohol, cigarettes, they're health issues.
Indeed.
Just like we got parents, all this is going on. Parents are still going out buying their kids toys that look like guns.
Yeah.
It's a health issue. Until we start teaching people about health, it doesn't matter, because somebody's going to always come along and make money off of Baby and Ray Ray. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you so much for your call. And I do agree with you that these are health issues. But, Lafayette.
Well, I think what the caller just did was lay into what the other caller didn't understand.
Yeah.
That at 16 years old, while he's drinking, he's actually destroying some of his brains. And that means he's not developing anymore. So you started at 16. What happened was you stopped developing at 16. And that's why you think it's okay right now, because you just kept on going from where you're at.
Yeah, and I hope you don't get, we're not trying to chastise you, brother, but I would just say respectfully, I disagree. I have a 16 and 18-year-old daughter, and of course, I wouldn't knowingly give them alcohol. Now, I'd just be honest with you and frank. I just didn't. I don't want to encourage it, but I get the point of wanting to teach your children about alcohol and how to handle it and deal with it. I just don't know that that's the appropriate setting, because there's so many influences today in the community, on television, even in the schools, that I just don't know that that's the appropriate model. But it turns out that you and your daughter are okay, I'm assuming. But I agree with the previous caller as well. I think these become a public health issues. But we got more calls. So, caller, you're on the air.
Oh, hi.
Hi, good evening.
Good show. My question is, the statistics actually point to the epidemic not being alcohol and cigarettes. It's more prescription drugs. And recent news has just shown us that the addictive qualities of the opioids and opiates like Norco and Percocet and Percodan are the ones that most people take for pain. Adults take those for pain, but children get a hold of those. What is Grand Boulevard Coalition doing to bring that to the fore of the mindsets of the people in our community? And I'll get off the phone and let you answer.
Hey, you know what? And that is a great call. So we don't just focus on alcohol. We got started on alcohol and tobacco. Actually, it is marijuana. It is marijuana. So we as a prevention agency, we're looking at youth prevention, and so statistically have shown the recent data that we have in urban communities. It is marijuana and it's alcohol mixed with, to your point, caller, some levels of hallucinogens, right? So on the street, the kids call it lean, or they have all kind of various names, dirty Sprite, where they're putting pills or syrup, which is probably something goes back to your day without telling your age, syrup, and mixing it with soda. I don't want to give the ingredients, but I'm just saying what from talking to other professionals in that field. So to your point, you're correct. So we do try to work with the local authorities to work within the community with community organizations and even the businesses who allow people to stand outside their stores and engage in those type of products. In those type of activities. I'm sorry. So it's not just about buying underage alcohol for underage youth or selling loose cigarettes, but we also have to deal with the loud phenomenon.
Yeah, even though we concentrate on these because these are items that are legally able to be gotten, and that's the use, we do also concentrate on other things. We glue sniffing or sniffing our aerosol cans. And then, yes, prescription drugs and whatnot that are there for a particular use. The question is, how do you keep people from abusing what they have and what they're doing with it?
Right. And so so in like in non-urban communities and rural areas, to the caller's point, those kids, is not just alcohol for them, it's alcohol and crystal meth.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Or it's alcohol on heroin. And the use of heroin, I think they said somewhere the statistics have shown, Lafayette, that it's grown by a 40% use of between 16 and 18-year-olds of white children. Mm-hmm. Heroin. And I was kind of shocked to even get those statistics.
In DuPage County, the number of deaths from heroin has increased over 300%, from 18 in 1912 to over 54 last year. In overdose deaths.
I've been kind of tracking it and reading. I think in the state budget they've put some money in there to do prevention and treatment for those communities. And I wish that it was a kind of reciprocal into the African American community, where we have young people who are in fact addicted to marijuana. And and I believe that, and many of you probably know this, marijuana is a gateway drug, and I still say this a gateway to other things. And so, yeah, I agree with you, caller. The focus is not just alcohol, but that's kind of because it is the most accessible legally, if you will. I mean that there are store owners who will allow, like the gentleman talked about, knew that a kid was 16 or 14, and allow them to come in and buy a pint of Hennessy, or allow them to come in and buy beer. I don't drink beer. Let me just get that straight. It is a stronger form of whiskey or alcohol that they pour into their water bottles or juice bottles, cups, and take them into the high schools and into the schools and wherever, and walk up and down the street actually for practical purposes drinking them. So that is the kind of work that we're trying to prevent in the Grand Boulevard Coalition. And I should talk about a little bit more about our partners again. We're partnering with the faith community. We have Greater Harvest Missionary Baptist Church. We have Institute for Positive Living. We have Recovery 2000 that's working with us. Centers for New Horizon is also a part of our coalition, as well as the Alderman in the 3rd Ward. We partner with her office, as well as the Green Light Movement within the community as well. And our good friend over here, Mr. Lafayette Ford, is representing Chicago Public Schools as we go in and out of high schools, trying to work with young people around it. One of, I think, the successful programs that we put on was trying to educate parents and youth around prom. Yeah. A prom is they prepare them to go to prom and not to drink and drive or get high. While indulging in any form of alcohol or drugs while attending the prom. And so that's kind of one of our highlighted activities. So Lafayette, looking forward to the new school year, what do you think some of the things that we should probably be focusing on as we move into this upcoming school year, which, by the way, glad to announce will start on time. Thanks to our great legislators.
Well, not only for the school year, but for throughout the year, I think we need to be working stronger with the retailers.
Okay.
We want to make sure that the things that they're doing are within the scope of the law. We want to help them to be able to still retail what they're doing. We're not trying to prevent the sale, but we do want to make sure that the youth are not exposed in a way that they're party to. In some of our other coalitions, we have retailers that are part of the coalition. They want to do it right. They want to make sure that their merchandise is available for people who should have it and can have it, and for those who don't, they want to make sure that it's being kept away.
Yeah, and I think that's one of our goals moving forward this year, as we move into the new year of the GBC. We want to bring in more retailers, get more businesses involved, right? And I know that working in the community with the police department and the aldermen and some of the community groups, we've been successful in closing down some bad actors, people who are in non-compliance with selling alcohol, allowing alcohol to be sold, or drugs to be transferred out of their businesses to young people. So I think a better way to improve is to work with more of those businesses and engage them and get them a part of the coalition so that we wouldn't necessarily have these issues to deal with. But again, you can reach us at the Grand Boulevard Coalition at 3847 South Giles, Chicago, Illinois, 60653. The number you can call is 312-420-5582. You can reach me directly, or you can reach us at 708-9458. I see we have another caller on the air. Caller, you on the air?
Hello?
Yes, caller, how are you?
This is Laura. I'm doing fine.
Oh, Laura, how are you this evening?
And to ask Dr. Ford, is there a way we're knowing from the school or from youth input what types of, whether drugs of choice or how often they are using? Is there some kind of survey or anything that they're conducting in the school?
Well, there is a thing called the Illinois Youth Survey, which is done every 2 years in the state of Illinois. And schools around the state are surveyed. The youth, mainly in 8th grade, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Grand Boulevard happens to be one of the community areas that they do focus on. to look at seeing what's happening. So yeah, we do have a way of asking some very interesting questions that we ask the students, and they give us the answers as to how to expose, how often they use it, and you'd be surprised at the type of things we would get from that.
Oh, the time is upon us. Laurel, thank you for your call. Listen, it has been great, Lafayette. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Is there a number where people could reach you if they need to talk to you?
Sure, at the coalition number.
All right, 312-420-5582. This has been the Grand Boulevard Coalition, brought to you by CAN TV. Between now and next week, peace.